Quang is just a great guy. He was born in Vietnam. He immigrated to the United States in 1975 after the end of the Vietnam War. Quang attended California State University at Long Beach as an electrical engineer major, but later found his real love, which is a passion for art. Quang graduated with a BA in Industrial Arts and today resides in Prescott, Arizona with his wonderful family. He's the creative director and founder of the Caddis Branding Agency. Also, he's very active with the United States military, where he travels the country speaking primarily to Vietnam veterans. If you go to Patriot Network TV, you can see one of the most inspirational videos you'll ever see, especially as it relates to the American dream. Here's one of my personal favorite quotes from that speech. Quang says, "If you haven't heard lately that this is the greatest country on earth, let me tell you, it is. It is the freedom and the opportunities presented to me that put me here with all of you tonight. I also remember the barriers that I had to overcome every step of the way. My high school counselor told me that I could not make it to college due to my poor communication skills. I proved him wrong. I finished college. You see, all you have to do is give this little boy an opportunity and encourage him to take it and run with it. Well, I took the opportunities, and here I am." That's the American dream right there. What more can you say? But right now, let me go ahead and bring in, I was very pleased to sit down. Here's the interview I had with Quang Nguyen. Quang, it's a real pleasure to have you on the show today. With this week's show focusing on the American dream, I couldn't think of a more inspirational story than yours. Can you tell my audience about your story and what the American dream means to you?
Well, Don, thanks for having me. I really appreciate you making this interview happen. Back then, I was born in Vietnam in 1962 in a little town, or you would call it a village, called Da Lat, and a few hundred miles northeast of Saigon. And, I grew up in a war zone, and I have to tell you, in 1975, I was allowed to come to the United States and, to experience freedom for the first time. And I could go on and on and on and tell you about my background and how I got here and how I lived through it. But, to make a very long story short, I am just so happy to be an American, and I'm proud to be an American. And, it gives me the freedom to do this interview, to speak up, to do well overall in my life, my family. I just can't thank America enough to give me this opportunity.
On my latest YouTube video, it was really focusing on this desire to create a new American dream. And with that, it seems to be the kind of the entitlement mentality. Do you think that too many people today take the American dream for granted?
Yes, the answer would be yes. And I think until you experience socialism, communism, and until you experience the fact that you get up in the morning and there's no food to eat, things are blowing up all around you, it's very difficult to describe it. And I can tell you, you ask any American veterans who served in Vietnam, they'll tell you what life was like back then. In many ways, I think even my own children, and I'm not speaking this to bash anybody, but I can see it in my own children. They never have to suffer. They never have gone hungry. They never have to worry about the building collapse on them. And so, I think Americans need to look, deep into their soul and understand why they have what they have here. I mean, really, Don, we study American history and we understand the founding fathers, but the reality is I never met any of these founding fathers, but I sure have met a lot of Vietnam veterans that served over there, and they're the ones that actually made it possible for me to be here to enjoy the freedom that I have today, and those, I consider them to be my founders.
I think that statement right there says a great deal about your character. I know that you do a lot for our men and women in uniform, especially when it comes to our Vietnam veterans. You go around the country and you speak to them and you thank them. It must be a real thrill for you, but just as much for them, to actually have an opportunity to thank the soldiers that helped you get to America.
I used to be kind of a goofball kid coming out of college, and I was having fun just like any typical 21-year-old American, and that's just that's the life that was given to us, and we enjoyed it. And it took me a little bit to understand as a young adult that I really need to pay my tribute to these men and women that actually served there, and many of them, as you know, died and wound up on a black wall in Washington, D.C. And I think about those people, and I think about all the people that came back to the United States injured, either mentally, physically, or both. I mean, I just think so very, very highly of them. And it was by accident that I was given an opportunity to speak at a tea party, and my speech sort of went viral on the internet. And these days, the various American, the veteran groups are inviting me to come to speak to them about my experience and my life in America, and I want to have that opportunity to thank them. And so it's been really a special experience for me as well as for them to be able to hear an immigrant who came from Vietnam who could actually stand at the podium and thank them for what they've done. And so, Don, really, it doesn't really matter how they feel about the war or how they feel about, the Vietnamese people. I just want them to understand that I personally and my family, we personally thank them for what they do. And so it's been a joy to be able to visit these organizations.
Absolutely. That's a very inspirational video. And I mentioned earlier in the show, I highly encourage everybody to go check that one out at Patriot Network TV. There's a lot of great videos on there, but Quang, that one is very inspirational. Knowing how much pride you have in this country and how you feel and how grateful you are to be here, I'm curious, how do you feel and what do you think about when you watch the Occupy Wall Street protests that are taking place?
Well, the reality of it is it's almost, I feel ashamed to watch those people. And I have said this to many, many veterans that I've run into. The only way for me to repay and honor those veterans that actually fought and put me here is to work my rear end off and prove to them that I'm a hard worker, that they didn't fight in vain, they didn't die in vain. And so that has always been my attitude. Now, when I look at these guys or these kids that are out there protesting because my tuition is too large. I'm going to Columbia and Harvard, and I can't pay my tuition. Well, so Don, I went to a state university. I didn't go to a big fancy university. Right. I worked really hard to earn a scholarship. I worked odd jobs, and as you know, we had this discussion. I was a janitor for a few years, and I'm proud of being a janitor. I put myself through college, and I learned how to work really hard. And there is not 1 ounce of my body that says I should be out there complaining because I didn't have it. And so, but I have to tell you this though, my life is so great now. In terms of my freedom, my liberty, what's given to me, that I cannot see myself being out there protesting. And furthermore, one last note on this thing, and not a last note, but one important note on this thing is that the food that goes on my table every night has never been provided by one single protester.
That's an excellent point. And one of the parts of my video that I put out this week was successful people make a habit of doing things that unsuccessful people refuse to do. The opportunity is there for everybody, and I really think that was my point in making the video in regards to the Occupy Wall Street protests.
Right, and I can tell you right now, is everyone happy with the bankers? Not really. We have some disagreement with our bankers. The fee is too high, whatever the situation may be. But I can tell you those evil bankers gave me a credit card and a business loan to start my business back in 2006. Yep. And I'm still paying back those loans. But my point is, these things don't come for free. So in order for me to get my business rolling, I have to put in something. I have to risk. I can't ask somebody to risk for me. I have to put in my own risk, my own money to make it happen. Now, is happiness guaranteed? No, not at all. Absolutely not. Is success guaranteed? No. But you know what? I believe that if you love what you do and you work really hard at it, you can make it happen.
That's it in a nutshell, my friend. Now, Quang, I mentioned earlier in the show that you work with Professor Terry Lovell on it's a great YouTube channel, Patriot Network TV. Everybody check that out. Can you tell us all, what have you guys been working on lately?
Well, what we do is we try to concentrate on the issue of the day, the issue of the week, the issue of the month, and we're trying to stay at the national level. And the way we work the Patriot Network is, Terry is the spokesperson. I'm the producer. And, he does all the research. And if you know Terry at all, I think he's got a photographic mind, but he won't tell anybody that he's got one of those. He'll remember things that he read, from 10 years ago and quote it. Wow. And so when we make a video, we make sure that we provide the sources, we provide the facts, and that we're just not up there being this, two conservative guys giving information directly from Fox News. And a lot of people accuse us of that, but we don't. We provide researches from credible sources. And so we try to put those messages out almost on a weekly basis. And, just to try to get people to understand what's happening out there with the economy, with the what's going on in the Middle East, what's going on in our country, what's going on in the, Occupy Wall Street and ... everywhere else. And so that's what we're trying to do, Don.
I appreciate everything you guys are doing. You and Terry do a fantastic job of putting together some great videos. I really enjoy the fact that they're fact-based. There's a lot of misinformation out there. You guys do a great job of just dealing with facts. They're very informative, and I learn a lot every time I watch one of your videos. So everybody go check out Patriot Network TV. And in the words of Sean Hannity, you're a great American, Quang, and it was great to have you on the show.
Well, I appreciate to have the opportunity to be on with you, Don, and you're a great American, and I just want to end it with this. I just found out that you served 4 years in the Navy, so thank you for your service, and I really appreciate what you do.
Well, thank you so much. And again, it was great to have you on the show, and I look forward to having you back again.
Thank you, sir.
It was a real pleasure sitting down with Quang and spending time with him. I'm sure you would agree that that was a very inspirational story. Check those guys out. That's Quang and Terry Lovell at Patriot Network TV.